Hey everybody, good morning again. Want to continue in our look at these giants that David had to come across during the course of his life, and by himself and with various people helping him, and obviously with God beside him and within him. David was sure to have victory over these huge things. Anything, I remind you, that stands in the way of the will of God is a giant. Now I have a giant for you today, and his story is told in 1 Chronicles chapter 20 verse 5. Now it's a duplicate of the story that we've been talking about. It's just another expression of that same story that we had in 2 Samuel chapter 21. Mentions those same giants, but gives this guy a specific name. His name in the text is Lahmi, Lahmi. And this is the giant, apparently, that means the giant of self. The giant of self. Now, if you want to find this giant, if you want to know who he is or where he comes from, you basically just have to look in a mirror, because self is the greatest enemy to your spiritual well-being and you achieving what God wants you to achieve and be what he wants you to be. And this is what we want to talk about today. The giant of self. He's enormous. He's big. He has a way of coming back after you think you've dealt with him. He has a way of rising his head out of the ground after you've chopped it off. You've got a one heck of a job to keep him down and under. Now, the giant of self is all about, obviously, self. We have things like self-indulgence. We've got a whole bunch of selfishness. We've got a whole bunch of self-centeredness, self-seeking, self-worship, self-satisfaction. There is a whole bunch of stuff that comes under the name of self. It's me, myself, and I. And if you go to a local bookshop, you'll find that there's a lot of stuff on self-improvement. I want to talk about that just now. But how interesting is it that this thing called self has got so many biblical parallels and different biblical answers and different biblical examples? I've just written a few down here. You know, Satan fell at the point of self-consciousness. He thought himself, how great I am. And he cried out, because that's what self does. Self has a loud voice. It's crying in your head, look at me. What about me? Who's going to do something for me? And everybody look at me. And we have a saying in our home, we call them boogaminas, which means look at me. And the self cries up with me, boogamina, boogamina, look at me. We have a look at Cain. And when Cain was approached by God to say, hey Cain, where's your brother? Cain was very quickly to answer to say, why would I be worried? I don't care where my brother is. Am I my brother's keeper? He says to God. And his self was so self-absorbed that he didn't care two hoots about his brother. Even though he had killed him and the blood of Abel cried out from the ground, he was so self-absorbed. What about the children of Israel in the wilderness? And they whined to God because their self was not being satisfied and they wanted more food. And God said, I'll send you some food. I'll send you some manna, beautiful manna. And the manna will come and will lie upon the ground for 6 days of the week. And you must pick up enough for you to eat. And then on the 6th day, you must pick up enough for the 7th day. And they will see you through the Sabbath, because I don't want you to worry about that kind of stuff on the Sabbath day. Well, the children of Israel looked at the beautiful manna. They tasted it. Man, for a while, it tasted really good. And they thought, you know what, I'm not sure we can trust God for the next day. Let's pick up enough today for tomorrow, just in case God forgets. They were so self-absorbed that they thought that this manna would not come again. So, of course, they had to self-preservate. That's one of the key words that we see coming around from people today, is we need a self-preserve. Don't you enjoy that? Then we have Herod. And Herod, in the story of Jesus, he was threatened by Jesus. And when he heard that there was this little baby that was born to be the king of the Jews, he thought, man, I'm the only king around here. I don't want another king. I don't want to compete with another king. This place isn't big enough for two of us. And because he was so self-opinionated and self-important, he went and he tried to have all the babies. He did. He had all the babies under 2 killed in Jerusalem. So desperate was his need to preserve his self. And then we have the Tower of Babel. There's a good example, book of Genesis, where these people said, we'll show God how good we are. And we'll be able to say to God, I did it my way, where they built the Tower of Babel directly against the request or the instruction of God. So great was their self. They wanted to self-elevate themselves even in the eyes of God. We'll make this tower up to heaven and God will cheer for us because look how good we are. Well, those are some of the cries that come to us nowadays that come out of ourselves. Now, let me get straight to the point here. The next couple of days is not going to be a comfortable one because you know the Bible teaches us that there's only one good self. It's not a self-improved self. It's not a self that is beating itself up to become a better person. It's not a self-extenuating thing. It's not a self-accentuating thing. Rather, the best way to deal with self and the only legitimately good self in the eyes of God is a dead self. When Abraham took Isaac and he laid him upon the altar, he may as well have climbed up on the altar himself, because every dream and every vision and every purpose that God had promised through that child was Abraham's vision for his life. And if he were to kill that child, he's saying to God, you may as well just kill me. I may as well die with him. That's what it means to have a dead self. Paul puts it like this, says, I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, in some strange mystical way, I still live by the power of God that is in me. It's only one good self, people. It's a dead one. So we're going to talk about that this week. I promise it's not going to be terribly comfortable, but I hope you're going to hang in with me. Have a fantastic day, and we will see you all tomorrow. Cheers, guys. Bye.